to our continued interview series as Huntington Beach and Channel 3 brings you the recipients of the Pride Individuals Month for the month of March. Joining me right now is artist Bill Anderson. Mr. Anderson, welcome and congratulations on being a recipient of Pride Individuals.
Well, thank you very much. It's really a pleasure to be here, and anxious to just see what we're going to be talking about.
Who are those guys?
I have no clue. I'm wondering the same thing myself. One of them looks like you, but I don't know who the other guy is.
I don't know that guy either. He's too thin, this guy.
Oh, gee, well, it looks like you had hair, but I also had hair. I'm afraid to, I don't even want to look at it.
There he is right there, folks. The artist, Bill Anderson. He's back with us. Flash ahead now. So many years. Bill, it's an amazing journey.
That was a few years ago. I'm wondering what the date was at that time.
Let's not date ourselves.
No, we won't do that.
Well, it's apropos because that was many years ago, maybe over 25 years ago, and now flash ahead, we're celebrating our centennial in the city of Huntington Beach, and darn it, you painted so much of it, watercolor and so forth.
And my first painting in this exhibit I did in 1965, and at the time I was teaching in Long Beach, and I was teaching art, of course, and I was not a full-time painter as I am now, and I didn't have an art gallery as I do now, but thank goodness I was able to paint a couple of paintings of Huntington Beach back in those days when it was a completely different visual environment than it is now.
Yeah, and you've been able to see those changes over the years. Even though you went to Wisconsin for a few years, you came back and you said, "Oh my God, this place has changed, huh?"
Yeah, the 4 years that I had moved to Wisconsin, I taught there for 4 years, moved back here, and I could not believe the change at the time. All the oil wells, the oil rigs that were up along the Pacific Coast Highway, and the old pier, and the beautiful design of the old pier. It was an elegant design with a lot of Art Deco kinds of buildings on top, and the old Golden Bear, which was a fantastic building and had a unique style to it. There was a water tower in Central Park. There was another water tower on Warner, right near the Bolsa Chica, and then I think of the old wooden oil rigs that used to be near the Central Park area, and some of the old buildings there, and the old trucks that, anyway, it was a pretty fascinating and unique place, which was quite different from where I had come from in Minnesota.
What first attracted you to Huntington Beach in the first place? What was it?
Well, I guess the attraction to Huntington Beach for someone from Minnesota, where in the winter it might be 30, 40 below zero. In the summer you've got hot and high humidity. Being near the beach was probably the most important thing with the climate the way it is. And then, the land of 10,000 lakes is a little different than the land where you're standing at the edge of the Pacific Ocean looking out and realizing that actually the population beyond that beach, it's a pretty low population for a long distance, and there's something about that quality of it, and just seeing all the people enjoy the beach and the pier, and then the oil wells and everything at the time were kind of unique and had a lot of character, and so it was just a major difference from where I had grown up. I can remember when I first moved here, I lived in Long Beach at the time, and I remember going down to the Huntington Beach Pier and body surfing, and I think I hit my head in the sand, and I decided that it was a lot better to just kind of lay on the beach and draw and paint the people on the beach as opposed to trying to body surf. Right. And I parked my car in front of the Golden Bear, and I remember it must have been a no parking zone because I got a ticket. But I remember the Golden Bear from that first time I came to Huntington Beach. Not necessarily because it was the landmark at the time, but after that I painted the Golden Bear about 4 different times, and one of the images that I did There's a book on the history of California watercolor, and they concluded the California style or regional movement went from 1850 to 1970, and they concluded it with my painting of the Golden Bear. And it's the only painting of Huntington Beach in the entire book. So,
Bill, what has surprised you most about Huntington Beach through your watercolors and your work and so forth over the years? What's really attracted your attention?
well, you know, the interesting thing is you see all of these things that have taken place in Huntington Beach, the old oil rigs and the water tower and the Bolsa Chica and all of that, but I still am extremely fascinated by just going down by the pier. And it isn't so much the pier itself, but it's all the stuff that goes on around it, you know, all the people and all the things that take place. So I enjoy going to the pier with my sketchbook or with my watercolors and observing, and it's never the same. It's always different, and yet, you know, I mean, I guess you could say it's always the same in the sense that there's always stuff going on that's kind of interesting and exciting. You look in one direction, you see all the people that are just hanging out at the beach and enjoying being on the beach, and then you look out in the water and you see the surfers, and you look back inland, and on a good day, you can actually see the snow-capped mountains in the background. So it's pretty fascinating.
Well, thank you very much for all this wonderful Huntington Beach art through the many years, through the eyes and hands of Bill Anderson. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and it's great and I know that we look just a little bit different than we did a few years ago.
Just a tad. Just a little bit.